Hello and welcome back to NoBS. Today we turn to talking about brands and companies who are getting woke and kowtowing to these BLM protesters and all these demonstrations in response to that terrible incident that happened in Minneapolis. Yes, people have been asking, and the SJWs particularly, they've been going after brands and demanding them to say something or to speak out, or sometimes even they'll ask them to remove certain products. We've seen this in a number of ways. First, in all those posts on social media, you've probably seen a few yourself. It's like a black screen with white letters, and it's them saying stuff like BLM and saying, oh, we support this, we support the minorities, and we hate the cops too. Lots of brands have done this. Star Wars, Disney, Sony, Nintendo. I mean, you name it, they've all come out with it. And some of them have even been forced into it. Lego was one example we've covered a few times because not only were they forced to get woke and to give a message themselves, but they've also been pressured into removing certain toys off their shelves. Specifically, people don't want their cop toys to be sold anymore because obviously this cop thing has been going on right now and everyone's hating on the cops. They're acting like they're bad guys and villains when really we know they're there to help us. The cops are the good guys. They're the heroes, but they've been vilified recently because of a few bad eggs and one bad incident that no one is denying that deserves some punishment. Like, we want that to be fixed and we want justice in Minneapolis, but to go after all the cops is really messed up, and that's what happened with Lego. But today we're talking about something a little different, but it does involve brands. This time we're mostly talking about beauty brands and different kinds of makeup companies, and they're trying to signal their wokeness in a pretty interesting way. What they're doing is they're talking about their demographics publicly and telling people, hey, we have this many people that are working for us and they're this skin color, and this many people working for us are this skin color. And basically the goal is to have the least amount of white people on your company. It's kind of messed up and it's kind of low-key anti-white, but that's what's been going on. They've been pushing these kinds of posts and talking about how they're pulling up minorities and having more of them at their jobs, and it's just coming off really tone deaf. Like, oh, you think that's a good thing to say? Like, what if we talked about a company having 60% white people or something like that? Like, that would be racist, but it's okay if they're black people or brown people. Like, if certain races get treated differently, and that's the messed up world we're living in. That's the premise, and it all started from a tweet. We'll go ahead and get started with that. This is from Lauren Chen. She says, this is so weird. Brands are now publishing how non-white they are, so people will think they aren't racist. This is literally the opposite of what MLK wanted. But hey, if it gets us virtue points, I'll have you know that pseudo-intellectual team is 100% multiracial. So that's a little joke about her show. You can check that out on YouTube and stuff too. She has great content and makes a good point here. This is the pharmacy post she's responding to, and it's like, they're trying to prove they're not racist by being racist. I mean, that's the premise. That's what's so messed up here. That's the BS for today. It's okay, yeah, you're allowed to be racist to white people, essentially. Like, you can be biased for these minorities, and it comes from that idea, like, they have this kind of entitlement, and also they really think you can't be racist to white people. Like, they don't believe in that. They think that we're the worst. They treat us like second-class citizens. They act like we're evil and we hurt people all the time and we're all racist, and that's what's coming out in this kind of tone-deaf post. And then we're in a tone-deaf era where people can lash out and kind of go too far because of all this craziness happening in the news. Now, let's read over this pharmacy post that's coming from Instagram. It says, pharmacy, they're some kind of makeup company. Our small but mighty team of 23 is comprised of 65% POC, 13% black, 91% female identifying. Our leadership team, director, VP, and president, 57% POC and 14% black. Now, right out the gate, I'm a little confused, and I'm just wondering how they did this, because these are interesting numbers. They don't all add up. They're not giving you like a full, complete 100%. They don't mention how many people are white there, obviously, but you can figure it out. I mean, 65% people of color means that the rest is white. That means 35% is white there. And they don't want to mention that. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I don't really care about the demographics of some makeup company, but the fact that they're putting this out there and they think this is like virtuous, they think this is like a kind, smart, woke thing to say, when it really comes off anti-white. And it's just weird the way they frame it too. It's like, okay, so people of color, that's an interesting phrase already. We've talked about it. We hate this kind of terminology. It's basically just anti-white, because it's like people of color, everyone else is cool. You could be white, you could be black or brown or Asian or anything not white. That's what people of color is. It's not white people. And then white people are bad. They're not colored people. We're white. We're bland. And it just ignores the fact that we have a lot of color too. We have blonde, red, lots of different colored hairs. We have blue eyes, green eyes. We have tan skin, lots of variety. Like, white people are colored as well. It's just a way to kind of group them all together. And then the next thing says 13% black, which is pretty representative of the American population, actually. I think that's how much of our country is black. So that's not really an increase. That's not really like a brag. That's just having a proper representation. And the only reason that they're really more POC is because they must have a bunch of Hispanic or Asian people mixed in there or something, because they just have the proper representation of black. And then these don't all add to 100 either, because this is like a separate category. So we're really breaking down something made by someone that's obviously not smart enough to know they're racist. 91% female, by the way, female identifying. So we got that kind of woke hint that there's some kind of trans people there. There's some alphabets who are identifying as female. Take that as you will. Nothing wrong with that either, but it's like basically saying there's no men there. There's 23 people. I don't know how that adds up to, but that just means there's like a couple dudes, 91% female. And that's cool too. Like I said, I don't care, but they don't realize like they're overcompensating. Like they're trying to act like everything's racist and sexist, but they're just ending up being racist and sexist against the people they don't like. They really just don't want as many white people in their company, and they don't want as many males. So now they're going against them. And it just goes to show that they're not really about equality or like about being better than the companies they don't like. Like they talk trash about companies that do the same thing, right? Like they're the ones that complain, this movie doesn't have enough this race, this movie or this company doesn't have enough of this women. If they're going to complain about other companies, then why can't we complain about them not being biased or fair? It's just a whole head game. It's like the double standards are disgusting. And that's what's the worst part of this BS is that, yeah, they just don't care about the double standard. Like if we posted something the opposite of this, if we had a male-centered company, 91% male, 65% white, that would be a problem to them. And they would feel entitled enough to tell us what to do there. But we can't do that to them. And that's just the kind of messed up world we're in. It says in the reading, in the spirit of transparency, we are publishing the statistics of the black members on our team. We know numbers matter, and we have always been proud of our diverse pharmacy fam from all backgrounds and life experiences. But we also know that it's important to go beyond the numbers. We all have work to do, regardless of our numbers. Pharmacy is committed to fostering a diverse workplace where everyone's contributions and opinions are valued, a team culture where people feel safe and confident. Okay, a lot of just buzzwords there, talking about pro-diversity. And like we've said, this diversity claim, when they're saying it specifically here, diversity is anti-white too. When liberals say they want more diversity, it's not like, oh, we want a white person from Europe, a white person from, South Africa. There's white people in Australia or New Zealand, Sweden, Russia. No, they don't want that diversity. They mean diversity, anyone that's not white, black or brown or Asian. I mean, Asians hardly even get mentioned. They're kind of like in between. They don't actually like Asians very much. It's more about black or brown people, more about African and Hispanic. And it just goes to show that they're really biased against us, and they're really kind of toxic people that are focused on race too much. And it might sound like I'm focused on it a lot too. I have to combat this racism a lot. I have to talk about these issues as part of my job, but really I'm not that big on it. Like I just usually go about my life. Like I'm not thinking, oh, this race versus this race. I don't care who's in this company and how many races in this company. I just care about the double standards and the BS and calling that out and giving you guys a good take on how bad these people can be. Now, the next article, it has more of this. It talks more about beauty brands, and it says, beauty brands called upon to pull up when it comes to diversity. So we're talking more about diversity, more of these beauty brands. The pharmacy actually gets mentioned in here. They're talking about this whole new thing, and it's basically about the same kind of stuff. They want to be woke and signal and show everyone they're virtuous by having more minorities at their company. Now, the most beauty brands have taken a public stand against racism. Industry influencers and leaders are calling on them to hold themselves accountable when it comes to diversity or having less white people. Uoma Beauty founder Sharon Chuter launched the Pull Up for Change campaign on June 3rd, calling on all brands that have released a statement of support for BLM to publicly release within the next 72 hours the number of Black employees they have at their organizations. At the corporate and executive level, the campaign called on consumers to refrain from buying products from those brands until they respond. Several brands have published the numbers in response. Wow. So this is part of a bigger trend. We're not just talking about one company. We're talking about a campaign to get people to confess how many Blacks are working for them and basically shame them if they don't have enough. They're trying to help the Black community in a way, whatever they can. It's just a bad way to do it. They're not addressing the real issue. And yeah, they're just kind of being weird. It's just honestly really kind of reverse racist. I know it's just racist, but you kind of call it reverse because they're reversing things and making it worse. They're doubling down and doing things that are like far worse than anything they criticized. Chuter released a video statement on the campaign's official Instagram citing statistics from the Center for Talent Innovation that only 8% of corporate professionals and 3.2% of executives and senior level managers are Black, as well as only 4 Fortune 500 CEOs. See, they say the onlys and the percentages and the smallness, and it's just like, why is it only 8? Why is it 3.2 and only 4 CEOs? I mean, it's not racism. They're not proving any racism here. That's the problem. This is another issue with all of this stuff. Like even back down to the first incident, the arrest gone wrong, there was no proven racism. It was just 2 different races involved. And now we're talking about people working at certain companies. Who knows what's going on at these companies? One company could be family run and it's all just one family from whatever state, South Dakota, and they only hire their family members. And yeah, that's nepotism, but that's their right. And that's what they want to do. They want to keep it a family business. That's what they want to do. But that's not racism because, oh, they didn't hire enough Black people and they're not having a Black CEO because they want to have it run by their family. It's like, no, I could come up with 100 reasons why these kind of numbers are happening. And really, it's like 8% of corporate of professionals. That's not that far off from the 13% that are Black in this country, 8 to 13. I mean, it's a few percentage points. We're not talking about the biggest difference. And the truth is they just want more. They just want to complain and get the easy way up. They want to get affirmative action into these jobs. They want jobs that they didn't earn and they didn't even want to go for. They're just going after really good jobs, by the way. Did you notice they didn't talk about how many Black people are janitors or how many brown people are garbage truck drivers or something like a hard job, like a job that's maybe more middle class, not paying as fruitfully? It's like, no, they're talking about corporate professionals, executives, and CEOs. They go right to the top and they're like, hey, put some Black people into these companies, in these top spots, or you're racist. That's the point. That's the point here. That's the claim. It's insane. And it needs to stop. And I can see it spreading in these beauty companies, especially bad because these guys are run by SJWs. There's a lot of women involved, a lot of liberals, and there's nothing wrong with those people. But the fact is they're getting this toxic culture, this identity politics, and they're more focused on race than what these people can actually do. Like they should be hiring people that apply for their jobs and are qualified and who's the best. It shouldn't be based on what color is your skin, where were you born, what's your last name. These things are just stuff you're born with. It's not as important as they claim. And really, people that say their race or their background is this important to them, it means they don't have a lot going on. It means they're not really a serious person who either gets an education, makes a life for themselves, has a name for themselves in some kind of industry or an interesting hobby. You could be a guitar player. You could be, a boat salesman. You can make your name for yourself as some kind of lawyer or something. But it's like, no, they just want to be Black people. They're a minority, we're an SJW, I'm a woman, and they just go by that, and that's their kind of crutch. And that's why they're not going up to these high level positions and they're not applying themselves and learning and getting the experience it takes. That about wraps things up. I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Make sure you comment your thoughts on everything below. Also hit the like button to help us get shared, and until next time, you guys have a great day.